Welcome to Sunon USA's market analysis for 2020. Normally, we would present our findings during EDS. Unfortunately, due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, we will not be seeing you this year, so we thought we would do something a little different in the form of a short but comprehensive video presentation. Welcome, thanks for watching, and let's take a look at Sunon USA's 2020 market analysis. "120 years ago, the U.S. witnessed an event that changed the world as we know it. That event was the introduction of the automobile. In 1900, New York City was dominated by horse and buggy. A little over a decade later, New York City had already changed. In 13 years, the horse and buggy was obsolete. What does an organization do when the market goes through such significant disruption? We, at Sunon, believe it is critical to identify these disruptions before they come. To do that, we look to the future and where the roads are taking us. Currently, we are seeing multiple roads pointing in the same direction and painting a very different future. In this market analysis, we will explore these ideas so we can be better prepared for what is to come. How does one go about predicting the future? Few have been able to successfully do it in the past, so it is important to get as much information as possible. Relying on third-party data or a single source of information can be a costly mistake, even if it is their specialty. In 1985, AT&T asked the world-leading consulting firm, the McKinsey Group, about cellular technology. Specifically, they asked how many subscribers would they have in the year 2000. The McKinsey Group told AT&T cellular technology and cell phones would account for 900,000 subscribers by the year 2000. The actual number we saw from AT&T in 2000 was 109 million subscribers. They were off by 120 times. So why can't we predict the future? Because we don't anticipate disruptions, and who knew cell phones would be one. A disruption is an event that changes the course of common belief. The car, airplane, phone, cell phone, computer, smartphone are all past disruptions. Now, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, GPS, and space exploration with the technologies that support them are pointing to another potential disruption. The next major disruption in our lifetime is starting now. Most forecasters make linear projections using historical data to predict what comes next. It does not account for exponential growth. Sunon has been monitoring several markets and applications over the past 3 years. These are some of the industries that we see leading the disruption and why. The pace at which technology is advancing is significant. Computing is increasing transistor count by 41% year over year. Data storage, hard drive dollar per bit cost is down 50% every 18 months. Digital imaging shows a 59% decrease in cost per pixel per dollar year over year. Network capacity, the dollar cost of transmitting a bit, is reduced by 50% every 9 months. Lithium-ion batteries and energy storage, dollar per kilowatt, is reducing by 20% a year. Industries who are using these technologies will certainly benefit in the future, but standing on their own, they are not enough to cause a disruption. By looking at industries using a combination of these technologies, we start to see a pattern, a common goal, but not everyone is taking the same path to get there. The race for space, and why is it so important? There are 5 notable examples driving this market, but already many companies looking to take advantage of these emerging markets. In the 1960s, there was a race to put the first man on the moon, but there was only one customer, NASA. NASA is an important customer for the private sector and the first road leading to space, but things have changed and they are not the only customer. NASA's new Avian project is to put the next man and first woman on the moon. To date, 16 people have walked on the moon, and we have not had a NASA landing since 1973. But NASA is not stopping with the moon. Avian is a much larger dream with long-term plans to establish a moon base and support explorations to Mars. The second player is Jeff Bezos and his Blue Horizon. They are focused on supporting NASA and the Avian project. They have developed a lunar module, Blue Origin, capable of landing and taking off from the moon. A space-to-moon delivery service similar to UPS or FedEx on Earth. Blue Horizon also has its own rocket-propelled delivery system to transport payloads to space. Blue Horizon sees 2 distinct opportunities. 1, reusable moon transportation, and 2, getting payloads to space. With less gravitation on the moon, they see an opportunity and need for a more efficient moon transportation system. Elon Musk and his SpaceX venture are also chasing NASA, but they are taking a different road. SpaceX is launching their own satellite array around the world to provide global satellite coverage. Elon Musk sent a text to himself earlier this year using one of his satellites. The goal of SpaceX and their satellites is to rent out the network much like the internet is used today. Just as you need access to the internet, you will need access to the satellite grid, and there is a limited amount of orbital space to put these satellites. SpaceX is not only building their grid, but using their launch and recovery rockets to take payloads into space for other potential customers like NASA or Player 4, OneWeb. OneWeb is another company trying to compete with SpaceX satellite grid. However, OneWeb does not have rockets of their own. OneWeb's road takes them to space as a customer of SpaceX or Blue Origin. The need to have their own rockets is no longer needed. As the race for space heats up, there will be increasingly more ways to get there. Our fifth major player is taking the road of tourism to space. Sir Richard Branson and his Virgin Galactic have plans to take people to space as tourists. With plans to launch in 2020, Virgin Galactic has pre-sold 600 seats on their future Galactic 2. At a price tag of $250,000, it certainly is not in everyone's budget. Not only does Virgin Galactic have plans for space tourism, but they are also capitalizing on the space delivery rockets as well. Yet, Virgin Galactic has taken another road. The Virgin Galactic delivery system is launched from a plane and not a stationary launch site. What is making this possible is an increase in business opportunities and customers, which translates into lower costs. Technology has also become much more affordable to reach space, but is it sustainable and can businesses make money doing it? The answer is becoming more and more evident that it is. However, with the economic impact of COVID-19, some of these companies are already struggling as customers and potential customers deal with the financial strains the pandemic is causing. The point is, the genie is out of the bottle, so to speak, and the race has already started. Some players may not reach their full ambitions, but they have led the way to more opportunities in space. For example, the ability to grow human organs in space where there is no gravity is more stable than on Earth where gravity prevents molecular bonding. Fiber optics made in zero gravity are more efficient than built on Earth. Planet Labs is launching a lower resolution satellite grid to cater to the farming and logging businesses around the world. Using Planet Labs technology and satellites, they can calculate how much lumber can be harvested before a logger cuts their first tree, or even before they purchase the land to log. It is estimated that in 5 years there will be more than 43,000 satellites circling the Earth. It sounds like science fiction, but it presents a reality that in less than a decade you will not be able to look at the stars without seeing a grid of satellites in the night sky. Astronomers looking into space from Earth will have an obstructive view of our solar system. Our skies will never be the same. The space race will continue to grow at an accelerated rate, and new technologies will spur further development. While this will be a growing frontier, it is not necessarily a game-changing market disruptor. Let's come back down to Earth and take a closer look at what these technologies are enabling right in front of us. We have been watching auto sales in the US for the last 3 years. They peaked in 2016 at 17.4 million vehicles sold. In 2017, it was 17.1 million. 2018, 17.2, and last year, 2019, saw 16.9 million vehicles. The decline in auto sales makes us question if we will ever see those numbers grow again. We see a change coming, but unfortunately, we do not see growth in traditional auto sales. Instead, we see the auto industry is on the brink of a major disruption for many of the same reasons we see in the race for space. Technology is at a point where electric vehicles, or EV, and autonomous driving will not only change auto sales, but it will change the transportation industry from internal combustion engines, or ICE, to EV. Not only will EV transform the transportation auto market, but private car ownership as well. We will see the shift from ICE to EV much like the shift from horse and buggy in the early 1900s. The biggest difference is less people will be buying cars. Technology adoptions traditionally have been exponential S-curves. The car, airplane, TV, personal computer, internet, then the smartphone are all examples of disruptive technologies. Traditional forecasting using historical evidence to project the future can be dangerous. For example, GE and their current situation. In 2005, the U.S. Energy Information Administration, or EIA, projected the U.S. would be a natural gas importer in the future. That did not happen. In 2019, the EIA said the U.S. will be a natural gas exporter. In the last decade, the EIA changed their projection from importer to exporter, reversing their position. If you were making an investment decision in 2005 building ports, storage, and power plants, all the infrastructure to become an importer was wasted. GE bet on natural gas power and lost or will lose more than $200 billion in market value. As late as March of 2017, GE was quoted as saying, "Gas power is a better and more diverse business than ever." In 2019, that market began collapsing. We don't need costly natural gas power plants anymore. Solar and wind have made natural gas and coal power plants obsolete and too costly to operate. So how do we avoid making the same mistake? A perfect example of technology convergence is the smartphone that came out in 2007. What made this possible was the intersection of technology and price. Specific to the smartphone, it was computing power, data storage, digital imaging, network capacity, touchscreens, lithium-ion batteries, sensors, and GPS. If we look at the EV market and apply the same logic, the same technologies are making it difficult to ignore the benefit of EV and autonomous vehicles. What does that mean for the auto industry? Part of the decline of auto sales was due to the rise of ride-sharing apps such as Uber, Lyft, and Didi. Additionally, the continued trend of lithium-ion batteries are dropping at a pace to rival gasoline. With a projected cost of $100 per kilowatt by 2023, that would be an average of 2.5 times cheaper than it was in 2018. In 2014, there were only 3 lithium-ion battery megafactories. As of 2019, there were 96. The average amount of gas a small SUV uses by today's standards is $15,000 over 5 years. The cost to run an electric version of the same vehicle is $1,600 over the same period. Today, the cost of running an EV bus is about $10 a day versus a diesel version at $90 a day. And this will only get cheaper. It is already less expensive to maintain an electric vehicle versus traditional gas or diesel combustion engines. EV powertrains last on average 500,000 miles. Tesla claims a 1 million mile powertrain. If true, driving 10,000 miles a year, the powertrain will last 100 years. How many of us had a vehicle that made it to 500,000? Probably not too many. At 500K, EV has 2.5 to 5 times the life of internal combustion engines. So who benefits? Consumers for sure, but the real winners will be transportation and delivery fleets. As the cost of EV vehicles comes down, they will soon be cheaper to buy than traditional ICE vehicles. At current values, this will happen by 2025, and the maintenance cost is already less expensive. There will be no economic reason to buy a gas-powered vehicle. To highlight this point, we only need to look at what Amazon is doing with their recent purchase of 100,000 EV Rivian delivery vans to be deployed between 2021 and 2024 with plans to be fully autonomous. So why are we so confident in the future of EV? Much like the race for space and the satellite networks, there are only going to be a select number of players. We've seen this in the past with the PC industry. While there are a few other players in the market, the operating system winners were Microsoft with Windows and Apple with their Mac iOS. In the world of autonomous vehicles, there are 44 major players competing for 2 to 3 spots. No one is slowing down to risk not being one of them. The only thing holding the adoption of autonomous vehicles is fear. Are autonomous vehicles safe? Every time there is an accident involving an autonomous driving vehicle, it is plastered on the news. As with the COVID-19 virus, fear sells. But the reality is, based on mileage numbers from Tesla, which are not yet fully level 4 autonomous, they are still 8.8 times safer than cars without. With the exponential tech improvements by such companies as NVIDIA's Drive PX, there are 25 companies in development of level 5 fully autonomous vehicles. So where are we going? Literally anything on wheels can be autonomous. The need for owning a car will no longer exist. The economic cost will only be an expense, and driving will only be for pleasure and not convenience. After mortgage, the car is the second biggest expense for middle-class Americans. According to Kelley Blue Book, the average cost of a new car in 2019 was $36,718. Today, cars are used only 4% of the time. That means 96% of the time your vehicle is parked. According to Statista, there were more than 227.5 million valid driver's licenses issued in 2018. The number of licenses issued for 15.5 to 19-year-olds is dropping, which suggests people are waiting longer to get their licenses and fewer are becoming car owners. Ride-hailing services make it easier for younger generations to avoid driving and the expense of a new car. When ride-hailing, electric vehicles, and autonomous technology become mainstream, it will be 10 times cheaper than owning a car. With the financial savings, it will persuade even the most ardent skeptics to reevaluate their positions. So, when will this happen? When autonomous driving has regulatory approval, we will see a major shift in how people and products are transported. It is estimated that by 2021 we will see this happen. With the pandemic COVID-19 virus, this may be escalated as the global economy slows down and people have less money to spend. In China, Didi, the Uber of China, expects to have 1 million EV vehicles on the road this year, as reported by China Daily. Instead of the individual drivers like Uber and Lyft use today, we are going to see fleet autonomous electric vehicles where a customer can spend $100 a month for a ride-sharing plan versus $50,000 over a 5-year period to own and drive their own car. That is $1,200 a year for ride-sharing services versus $10,000 a year just to own and maintain your gas-powered vehicle. By 2030, it is estimated the cost per mile for EV will be about 10 cents. This means, even if you receive a free ICE vehicle, it will still be 4 to 5 times cheaper to use ride-hailing services than the insurance and gas to fill your own car. Unless you are building a fleet, annual demand for new vehicles is going to tank overnight. Not owning a vehicle will save the average American $5,600 a year. The number of EVs needed to support this will be 70% less than the number of vehicles we have on the road today, even if they are only used 40% of the time. The COVID-19 virus is upon us, and the damage to businesses by many accounts is already done. However, there is a bright side. The future is heading towards autonomous EV, AI, space, health, and the infrastructures that enable them. Supporting technologies and services include 5G, cloud storage, enhanced security, and mobile devices such as laptops and video conferencing. With remote offices and locations, we will also see a resurgence in 3D printing. As we emerge from this COVID-19 crisis, where do people invest? We believe that people will choose not to invest in legacy businesses, but instead focus their interest on the future and more sustainable businesses. Why would you invest in a horse and buggy business if you know the automobile is replacing it? In order for this to happen, we first need infrastructure. Then comes the question of the need for brick and mortar locations when vehicles can autonomously drive to your location. With transportation costs so low, there will be many new businesses built around autonomous EVs. Vehicles will be totally redesigned. Imagine a world where a Starbucks on wheels will take you to your desired location for the cost of a cup of coffee. A 7-Eleven transporting you to the beach for the cost of you buying a Big Bite and a Slurpee would be cheaper than rental fees a brick and mortar location would have. The implications are endless. Mobile offices, medical services, even banking can come to you or offer you free transportation for their services. Financially, it will be mutually beneficial to businesses and customers. On top of that, the environment will also benefit from less pollution as EV emits less carbon monoxide. COVID-19 has already impacted the way we get food. How we rebuild from here is going to escalate what is already happening. Autonomous vehicles will make it that much easier. Mobile kitchens will be able to pull up to your front door with freshly prepared meals. EV will have a profound impact on oil prices. As it is, oil prices were not expected to drop to the levels they are until 2023 or 2024, but we are seeing $24 to $30 a barrel today. There is no doubt there will be losers as this evolution evolves, but there will also be winners. Transportation, EV, AI, space, medical, health, construction, food and beverage will all benefit from tech advancements, and the needed infrastructure to support and enable these changes will grow exponentially as 5G, cloud, security, and mobile services support more and more of these emerging industries. According to Dell Technologies and the Institute for the Future, it is estimated that 85% of the jobs today's learners will be doing in 2030 haven't been invented yet. IBM released a similar statement at 60%. Even though Forbes countered with a myth-busting article, what Dell and IBM are actually saying is not that what students learn today will be useless in the future job market, but rather the shift that is coming will enable many new ideas and businesses that simply cannot exist within today's framework. Our future is in the hands of the creative minds that will bring us new and exciting ideas for businesses and the way we go about our daily lives. Much like the race for space, we can expect an exciting and mind-altering decade. No one can predict the future, but we can follow the roads that are leading us there, and though it does not happen very often, all roads are pointing in the same direction. It's time to let go of the past and embrace the future.